welcome back. My name again is Roger Tulyahabwe, and with me is Counsel Eron Kiiza and Counsel Kusingura, and we're talking about ECOP. And in this part, I want to apologize first of all for that, but we move forward. Some of the issues that happened are beyond our own control, and we can only move forward. That's what it is. And to conclude, I wanted us to conclude on the ECOP issue as we move into the COP 28. And I'll begin with you, Kusingura, as you conclude on that one. Do you see how better do you think you need to repackage this campaign that these guys will listen much better? Or how do you think you're going now to be strategic in these endeavors to make sure that even if it does continue, like you said, all of your the points you're calling them out for have been performed, that they have been respected? If there's compensation, there is fair compensation. If there's those displacements, that it's favorable. If there's environment impact, there's some fair assessment, and that we know how to mitigate most of those issues. How do you think that is going to happen?
Thank you. For me, when you peer into the whole challenge that we have, much of the effort, the concerted effort should be put on respect for rule of law. Because we have the international instruments in place that would guide us into solving the problems we are having. We have the East African instruments, we have the national instruments. But what is the problem? The problem is, much as we have them on paper, Uganda is one of those countries that has the best laws on paper.
We have that reputation.
But implementation, following the law that we have the brains, we've put the law on paper, but following it, the will. So for me, it should be, can we get the audacity to raise the flag for the country above self, in respect for the rule of law? If we can have that, then it would mean that conscience has dawned upon all of us, including the persons who determine the fate of this country through their approval or disapproval of ECOP. So to sum this up, if we can have people in authority realize that this is for humanity, not for us as individuals. Because today we are here talking about things our forefathers failed to talk about. Because right now, we've already seen the effects of climate change. But if our forefathers had done the same, at least what we are, maybe there would have been some levels of progress in regards to this effect. So we need us to realize that this is for the future generations, and act now, not promise to act when other people have acted. We cannot sit down, fold our arms, and say, my neighbor's house is burning. I will not move. If he stops his fire, I will also move to see whether I put measures to stop fire in my compound. No. You cannot have, from the statement you just read to us, of one of our, unfortunately, one of our ministers, you cannot claim that some other person out there will have to first stop, then you act. That is a total sign of irresponsibility, a total sign of unseriousness and insensitivity to pertinent issues, issues that determine the course of our generation, issues that determine the progress of our sons and their sons and the future generation.
All right. Yeah. Counsel Eron, ECOP, as we conclude on that issue, the way you look at it, how do we have a win-win situation in the event that it happens?
No,
we are the only ones to win against ECOP. There is no win-win situation with the danger, with the death. ECOP should stop. We are going to stop it. We are not going to sleep. I didn't sleep last night because we want to stop ECOP. We cannot let people die just for purposes of balancing. There is nothing to balance. We must win. ECOP must lose. It must stop. It is going because for the sake of planet, for the sake of our people, for the sake of our rights, for the sake of our lakes, our rivers, our forests, our wetlands, we must stop this monster called ECOP.
And how far are you with the rights and the compensation with those people who are displaced now?
The oil companies are doing in Uganda what they did in Nigeria: death, disaster, destruction. They are not interested in fair compensation. Our law provides for fair compensation. They are not interested in prior compensation, prompt compensation, adequate compensation. That's what our law requires, and that's what sanity requires. But they are not interested. What are they doing? They are bullying courts. They are bullying the Hoima court, running it roughshod, sacrificing our most precious rights to natural justice, to rule of law, to right to file a defense on the altar of expediency. So they are out to strangulate our courts, to strangulate our systems, so that they make more money out of us, out of our suffering. So we are saying no. We are going to resist that. We have already written to the relevant authorities. We have reported the errant judge who denied people a right to defend themselves. We have already written to the authorities, including the Judicial Service Commission. We are calling for his disciplinary action because Ugandans need to know that judicial power derives from the people, and that a judge has no right to cherry pick which rights you enjoy, which ones you don't, if they are fundamental human rights. No, rights are not goodies. They are not manna from heaven. They are not fruits in Eden. They are fundamental human rights that you are born with. They are birthrights. Everyone has them, and they accrue to all of us, irrespective of what a judge thinks of us or what he thinks of Total. So we refuse that manipulation of the judiciary by Total and the government, through which Total channeled the pressure. We want sanity in Hoima, we want sanity in the Hoima court, and we want justice in this country.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And as we reach the end of discussion, I wanted us to also look at the COP28, the Conference of Parties. We have every year. Somehow we fly around, we go to ECOP, write down resolutions, counter positions, whatnot, have like 1 million papers find people carrying bags like that, and go and come back with empty promises that never are realized into action. First off, before we get to that far, I wanted for you who has been following all of these things, what do you think was the outcomes of COP28, and what is it that we need to expect that we're going to derive from it?
First, the good thing that came from ECOP was that for the first time in history, the primary cause of the climate crisis was called by its name. Because since the 70s, when the oil giants, big oil, knew that they were the problem of the world, they tried to obfuscate, they tried to do disinformation campaigns, and they have been undermining conferences or COPs that discuss the climate crisis. And you'll be surprised that it is the first time that fossil fuels were named for who they are. They are the primary contributors to the climate crisis. They emit about over 85% of the greenhouse gas emissions that burn the planet. But it's the first time in this COP that they were mentioned in an official COP agreement, COP declaration. That was a good step. However, we are already knee-deep into the crisis, and we need more than symbolic gestures. Not only should a fund on loss and damage be created like it was on the first day, and little money contributed to it. We need trillions, not billions, not millions. The crisis calls for trillions to counter loss and damage. The politicians are only giving millions. We need to stop all fossil fuels, new fossil projects, but they are still just talking about transitioning away. So even as we name the problem, the elephant in the room, there is no one to bear the cat. People are still, the politicians are still reluctant.
Yes.
The science is very clear on what we must do. The science from the government panel itself, IPCC, from the International Energy Agency, or there is scientific consensus that not only fossil fuel the primary drivers of the climate crisis, but also that we must stop all new projects. Hence, things like disasters like ECOP must stop, because in the future, there is no room for it. Either we have fossil fuels or we have life. Either we have fossil fuels or we have human rights. We have a stable climate, a livable climate. And it's not just about us. The people that suffer most are our children and grandchildren. So are we so myopic? Are we so selfish? Are we so without love that we want to continue profiting from oil at the expense of our future? No, I hope not. So COP28 in Dubai was not a major success, but it was great on messaging and symbolic nature. But when it came to real climate action, real climate finance, it was recycling the same old premises, same old rhetoric that doesn't help us.
Yeah.
However, we must continue forward. Optimism and hope are not things you can get from outside. You must have them within yourself. We still believe in human dignity. We can't give up on ourselves. We can't give up on our dreams. We can't give up on our country. We can't give up on our planet. So let's continue fighting for the environment. Let's hope that the next COP is not as stupid as the one that we had in 28. Let's hope that we can now, having named the problem in the official COP, stop the oil lobbyists from swamping our COPs, because that has also been a major problem. We have a meeting of deers and giraffes, and then the lions also want to attend it. You know it is going to fail. So these human lions of big oil, we need to rule them out. We need to keep them away from COPs. And we have governments, the policymakers, as well as people, civil society. And we discuss, and scientists, people who wish the world well, who are interested in stopping the climate crisis, not people who make money from the climate crisis.
The crisis entrepreneurs. Mr. Kusingura, we as we also move towards this COP and those resolutions and whatnot, I also understand that is it international? There's this principle, polluter pays principle.
Yes.
Do you think that is one thing that could actually work? Besides the fact that the other, like you said, the crisis entrepreneurs having as much money and possibly bending the rules, do you think polluter pays is one
even
of
as it comes in, but how can you pay for life lost? It's like saying that we kill people, then pay them. First of all, even if we had the capacity for them, what do you pay for life? And that's the danger of destroying the environment, killing people, and thinking that we have a polluter pays principle. When they are dead, themselves even will they pay? Or who will they pay who is dead? So I'm sorry for cutting it short, but this polluter pays principle is a very important tool for climate litigation, for holding people accountable. But first of all, we need them alive.
Before they die, so they
Both the culprits and the victims.
What would you have to say about that?
Thank you. The polluter pays principle is to the effect, actually it's to contain the damage, because you've already identified the wrongdoer, then you've identified the cause, or what we call causation, then we've also identified the problem that has been caused. So you're saying, okay, you caused this problem. Try as much as possible to take us back to a place we were in before the problem you caused. Now, the polluter pays principle is into that regards, so that we have a situation whereby the cause of the problem at least takes us back to a place we were in before. It is to mitigate the effect. Now, when we have ourselves hinging on the polluter pays principle to fight for the future of the planet we all call home, we have a big problem. Why? There is no way, scientifically or by any other means, that you can guarantee that you will take us back to the place we were in. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
It is not practical. We, for example, we are going to have these chemicals from oil spills and so forth. Once they sink into the soil, are there mechanisms we can drive it out of the... We are a country that has been surviving largely on subsistence farming, whereby I have agriculturists plant, feed, and the surplus for sale. How are you going to sustain their livelihood when their soils are affected by all those oil spills? They have already lost land. And you are not even doing anything. You cannot offer them adequate compensation to allow them go and get other areas where they can settle and do their farming. You're depriving them of their livelihood. And you see? So it is not practical that you look at, you put all your concerted efforts into mechanisms of counteracting, of mitigating the effects. We should, in my opinion, it is better when you look at preventing the cause, targeting the problem from its roots, than allowing it to grow. Then you start cutting the leaves, because you've allowed it to thrive. The roots are deep. Every time they are growing, and you're saying, wait, now let's keep cutting the leaves. So for me, looking at the polluter pays principle, yes, in the event that has already happened, that can, to some little levels of, give someone some little hope, but to what extent? The polluter pays principle is to some extent helpful, but it's not sufficient.
It's not a solution.
It is not sufficient. It's not a solution today, and it is not going to be a solution tomorrow. So we need to look at the root cause. We need to channel our efforts into providing alternative mechanisms, viable mechanisms through which we can have a sustainable tomorrow. We have a sustainable livelihood. And because we are talking about bringing, starting ECOP, getting oil to improve our lives. But history has stressed it out. It doesn't guarantee that discovery of oil, exploration of oil, mining of oil, ultimately brings good life, a better life to the societies affected, or where that oil is.
On the contrary, it brings war.
It brings the opposite. So when you talk about, you cannot say, let us go on with the problem, then we shall mitigate it later. No. It is foolhardy, it is myopic, and shines a high sense of irresponsibility for human beings to see a problem.
We move towards it and hope to find a solution in the process.
You willingly choose to go there, then say, if I go there, maybe I should do this.
It is suicidal.
Step in and see how far it goes, and I can find a solution.
No, it is a suicidal move.
Let me go and hug a lion. Maybe it will not eat me, but you know the natural instincts of a lion. It will eat you.
Maybe today's are good. But Counsel Eron also.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize the fact that indeed polluter pays is not a solution. It's not
it is not. It can never be a solution
because the climate crisis visits some irreversible damages. And then there's what we call tipping points. Once we have reached close to some tipping points, the resulting crisis will just be unstoppable. And I mean, the polluter pays principle assumes a normal situation. You get me? It does not deal with the crisis. It deals with some minor damage to an environment, but you cannot threaten the entire climate system, entire biodiversity, entire race, and you think polluter pays. There will not even be the capacity to pay to start with. But even if there was money, you can't throw money at every problem. The climate problem is one of those unique problems at which you cannot just throw money. You just have to stop the problem. Like I was saying, you have to stop emitting greenhouse gases emissions. You have to plant more trees, and trees not eucalyptus, natural forests,
not eucalyptus.
To suck carbon dioxide. You have to ensure that the fresh waters, the oceans and seas are healthy to suck. Even soil. Healthy soils also contribute in carbon sequestration. We need nature-based solutions while stopping the problem. But if we are going to say that we are planting trees and also we are digging oil, it's like doing what? It's like
you get with one and take on the other way.
It is much worse than that.
Yeah. So I wanted also, as we conclude, I wanted you to talk about these international instruments and what do they actually contribute to this process. The hypocrisy that is in the international standard, so much so that one person is going to stand today and make a speech the following days, they are going to be making
the hypocrisy is in international politicians, policymakers, driven by ignorance of their electorates, selfishness of their electorates, and greed of their business sector. The international.
How do we maneuver now to that ideal?
We need more public awareness campaigns like that. Instead of doing only one environmental show in a month, we need them every day because it's the crisis we are dealing with. It is even more important than removing Museveni. Dealing with the climate crisis. Yeah, moving Museveni from power is very important. It's necessary. We need it yesterday. But the climate crisis is even more urgent. That's how urgent it is. Because we will have no politics on a dead planet.
No one
will have no business on a dead planet. But the problem is ourselves. We need to fix ourselves. The planet is okay. The laws are not independent of our selfishness, of our calculation. It is greed that is burning us. You get me? And that greed permeates into practices, into standards, and to what not. But the standards in themselves are neutral things. We can change them for the better. We were in COP28. If we were not greedy people, if we are not myopic, like he said, then we would have come up with climate solutions that keep us within the reach of 1.5 degrees relative to industrial times. But we didn't. So we are now effectively working for a world in which our children are guaranteed burning.
And maybe to more so, you know, the cost of solving this impasse, of solving this crisis today, I can assure you and guarantee it, is cheaper than solving it tomorrow. Because long time ago, back when we could meet the 1.5 degrees Celsius marks, it could easily be, you know, maintained. But since we didn't, now we are, as he said, we are busy grumbling because the pledges, not even the contributions yet, the pledges to contribute, we are not hitting $1 trillion marks. They were in billions. And the need is in $1 trillion.
As you
conclude. My conclusion is we need to act now, not tomorrow. And we need to be aware that our actions today influence the world we are going to live in tomorrow. So it's better for us to be conscious and rise the interest of the world, the interest of the planet, above our personal interests, above the business interests, and we'll go back to the utilitarian principles, whereby the interests of the many override the interest of individuals.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Counsel, also as you make your concluding remarks, what is the way forward?
The way forward to repent. We need to repent our environmental sins. We need to stop these criminals who are causing ecocide. Because while us, the innocent ones who are trying to create climate solutions, are doing our bit, these greedy criminals, gangsters, devouring our climate, devouring our environment, we are all going to be in the same boat. A rising tide raises all the boats, but a sinking one also sinks all of them. So we need to get as many people on the side of the planet, so that those who are on the side of profits are isolated. We need more numbers, and it is in our selfish interest to side with the planet, side with nature, because nature feeds us. Nature brought us here. Nature is the source of all our solutions, including the money we are looking for. So let us guard it jealously for the sake of our life today and for a livable future tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Counsel Eron. Thank you, Counsel Kusingura as well, both of you for making the time and coming and speaking to this. We'll certainly be coming back. We need to follow progress of the campaign, see how far it goes, see how far compensation comes, see if anything does develop, if there is or are opportunities to sit with some of the investors in this project and tell them this, if this is going to happen, these are the standards, this is what we want, this is how far we need to go. So we will be following up. We will certainly be calling you back here to see how do we move forward and how do we advocate for better Uganda to move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. My name again is Tulyahabwe. Have yourselves a very good
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.